Hello everyone. I hope you can view my screen, and we are going to start on the webinar series Let's Do It the Scrum Way, and the series is hosted by FlexBridge Education, where the Scrum and Agile experts will be sharing their views and will be taking you through. So this event is streaming live on our YouTube channel as well, and we are going to start with this in a little while from now. So let's get started. So first of all, we are going to cover Scrum, which is a methodology in the Agile umbrella. Now, most of us would have had a little bit of idea about what Scrum is, what it is about, what it is used for. So all of you would be thinking, what is new that we are going to discuss today? So in our session today, we will first go ahead and cover what is the need of Scrum. We actually have an idea about how the waterfall model of development is benefiting companies. Now, this is a model which is actually used by the software industry from a long time, and the benefits that have been attained from this model have been huge. So most of the people who actually talk about Scrum, they actually want to know if this model has been so successful over the period of years, why do we need to change it right now? And what is a need of adopting another different model, which we are going to talk about in the form of Scrum. So this question in itself is very interesting, and one can also argue that why there is a need for a change. So to understand that, we will have to first understand what is the need of Scrum. Now, Scrum is really needed in our day-to-day work and in the manner that in which we deliver our work. So is it only needed for the software industry? I would say no, because it's not built only for the software industry. Scrum is a methodology, it's not a control mechanism. So first of all, we have to understand that if you are implementing Scrum in your day-to-day life, whether it's in your professional life, whether it's in your personal life, whether it's in your college life, your study areas, it can be implemented anywhere. And you have to be really open in implementing Scrum and in finding the benefits of Scrum. So because we are starting with the first webinar, so let me explain what's the need of Scrum in the IT industry. So you can see that there are certain requirements which are captured, which then go to the design phase, then move on to the development phase, the testing phase, and the maintenance phase. So this is how a normal waterfall development method works, and it used to work. So you actually complete a phase before moving on to the next phase. And it's actually not considered good if you are revisiting a phase. So let's say suppose you have come all the way down to the development phase and you identify that there is some requirement that's still missing, or there is some requirements which are still incomplete. So revisiting the requirements phase is considered a miss in scope, that we have actually missed something or we have not really taken care of something. That is where the need of a better development methodology appears. Now, waterfall development, you can also say that this is a traditional approach to software development. Scrum is probably a more modern approach to software development. Reason being, there are frequent changes in requirements, there are frequent changes in what the client wants, and if there is a long span of project which is going on, then in that long span, the competitors might introduce certain things which the client would want to compete with and change them over the period of time. So requirements in the past were actually freezed, and we all used to follow them in a way that we were following. But in the current days, the change in requirements, or we should say the frequency in which they change, is far higher than it used to be before. So that is where the need of Scrum arises. Okay. Now there is a but as well. But we do not realize any value until the project ends. That's what used to happen in the waterfall way of development. So in case the requirements change, if the development takes too long a time, and actually have burned out a lot of effort in completing these three phases, so eventually you will actually skip your testing phase and try to shorten that phase to squeeze everything in. This is risky, well, often costly, and that's where it lacks efficiency. So agile approaches, which is Scrum, extreme programming, etc., etc., these are the places where the agile methodologies give you value. They make you more efficient, they cut down on your risks and also your costs. So because in a waterfall model you don't realize value until the end of the project, Scrum says the value realization should be immediate. We don't leave the testing up until the end, we do it along with the deliverables, and we break it down into the sprints. So testing is also done side by side as development is finished. And we take constant feedback from the stakeholders. We don't wait till the complete project is finished. And in case the stakeholders want a change in the requirement, we can be more flexible, and we can have much more flexibility in our team and deliver according to the client requirements. That makes our client way too much happy. So that is the reason there is a need to implement Scrum in our day-to-day lives, especially in the IT industry, where time to market is being shortened. Every project is having less and less durations, and more output is required, or more efficient output is required from the client, from the teams. Now let's talk about the overview of Scrum, and where what all actually it talks about. Scrum has some principles around it, and it's based on these principles. So there are they're called as Scrum principles, and I have on the screen shown you what these are. So iterative development, the one that we were talking about, empirical process control, self-organization, collaboration, value-based prioritization, and time boxing. So time boxing is the most important concept that we have over here. Now, iterative development, we have already spoken about it, and in the previous slide, what iterative development is all about. So we say that we do not wait till the very end of the project to take client feedback. We go ahead, we divide our project into sprints, we do sprint plannings, we actually tell the client when we are going to complete that specific sprint, and we will showcase the progress to the client and take their feedback whether this is in line to what the client wants. So that's it, that is iterative development. Empirical process control, it's all about flexibility. So you should be flexible, your processes should not be very, very rigid. Your processes should be flexible. You should be flexible around what we do and what we want to achieve. So processes should not create hindrance in between our work. Self-organization. Now, this principle is based upon a concept which is called self-organizing teams, in which the team members, which we will cover about, there is a specific role, and the Scrum team forms the core role of Scrum, where the team members are self-organizing in nature. They are generalist specialists, so they actually are master of one field, and they also generalize in rest of the fields that the project is catering for. So self-organization, which also promotes team building or team morale, or you can say a better cohesive working environment. Collaboration. Collaboration, if we talk about it in literal means, it says helping each other out. So we will only be able to form a performing team in case all the team members help each other out. So people should be collaborative to what they do, also to their teammates, what they are doing. They should be able to help them out in case there is a problem. um, there should be there should be an open communication channel so that people over here are not afraid of raising an alarm or talking to someone in case they need so. So collaboration forms a very, very important point over here, which is also a principle. And just for the information sake, this comes from the four stages of team formation, which is storming, norming, forming, and performing. So we will talk about these stages and how they actually impact different individuals in our later series of webinars. Now, the most interesting, value-based prioritization, and it talks about how should we go ahead and prioritize work. So work prioritization is deemed very important in Scrum, where we say work should always be prioritized on the value that it delivers to the client, the levels of complexity and easiness. So Scrum has a very, very important role over here, in which Scrum says if you want to prioritize something, prioritize on the basis of value it creates for the client. If you will create early value for the customer, it will also create confidence amongst your team that you have delivered something good, and the customer will also be happy that they are able to hit the market sooner than later. So value based prioritization is a very important principle of Scrum. Last principle of Scrum is time boxing. Now this essentially forms the essence for each and every process of Scrum, where every activity of Scrum is time boxed. So be it a meeting, be it a sprint, be it a sprint review meeting or a daily stand-up meeting, sprint retrospective meeting, every meeting is time boxed, every event is time boxed, and we have to follow those specific time boxes to make sure we do not compromise on quality and output. And that's the reason Scrum processes always deliver on time. So this is really an important principle of Scrum and forms an overview of Scrum. Now, where do Scrum fit into? So talking about the Agile umbrella, so Scrum is one of the many methodologies that Agile brings to fore. So there are methodologies marked on the screen saying Scrum, Kanban, Crystal, TDD stands for Test Driven Development, XP stands for Extreme Programming, FDD is Feature Driven Development, DSDM is Dynamic Systems Development Method. So we will talk about all of these in our later series for sure, but just for an understanding where actually Scrum stands, that's the reason I have showcased the Agile umbrella and the most popular methodologies that we have and companies are practicing them. Scrum being the most favorite one and most extensively used one. Kanban probably follows Scrum, and rest of all are still in their primitive stages. So you won't find many companies using feature driven development or test driven development or Crystal or XP. A very interesting example that I can give you about how these fit into our day-to-day lives. Imagine a company making a mobile app. So mobile apps are very common nowadays, but imagine a company who wants to make a mobile app. Now, currently there is a latest operating system which is running for mobile, which is Android 6.0 Marshmallow. Now we don't know down the line when this operating system for mobile is going to get upgraded from Google, because Google probably might have started work on a new operating system already. And in case it happens in between the product is being designed and developed, the requirements are bound to change. So we cannot have full complete requirements for the upcoming operating system beforehand. So that's where Scrum comes in handy, where it says, okay, we know that requirements are going to change, so let's plan for it accordingly. Let us start building on the current version, and as and when the requirements will change, we'll scope them out into our project and make sure that we deliver to our clients on the latest platform as well. So that's the power that Scrum and Agile methods give us as end users. Okay. Now let's talk about what are the three different core roles that are there in Scrum. So we have a product owner, we have a Scrum master, and the Scrum team. So these are the three core roles that we have in Scrum and are essential for a Scrum bound process to run successfully. Product owner, as the name says, he's the overall owner, and he or she acts as a voice of the customer. So product owner will go ahead and interact with the clients. They'll understand the requirements, and they will act as single point of contacts for the team which is doing development. So customer requirements will be captured by the product owner. They will be transformed into epics and user stories, and then these are actually fed into the Scrum team, which makes them very important. Okay. Prioritization of the items in the product backlog is also done by the product owner, and this prioritization helps helps the Scrum principle of value based prioritization. So value based prioritization is actually followed by uh, by the product owner. Okay. Now a very important point that Scrum tells is the about the acceptance criteria. So you have a point mentioned over here on the screen which says provides acceptance slash done criteria and inspects the deliverables. So acceptance criteria is all about the test case, or how you are going to validate whether a work has been done as per expectations or not. So as we have said that product owner is the voice of the customer. So while a user story has been written and estimated, a product owner will also write the acceptance criteria for that user story. What will happen with that? It will act as a blanket to make sure the requirements are not getting changed in between. And also we have laid down a very clear guideline of when to say that we have finished work. So acceptance criteria actually helps us in that manner. Now talking about Scrum Master. So Scrum Master is our servant leader. Now when we say servant leader, it's a very different term when you hear it for the first time, that how can a servant be a leader. So we are not talking about servants over here. We are not talking about any specific person who is acting as a servant. But the servant leadership style is a new style that has evolved in Scrum, where the leader is actually a person who is fulfilling his duty of helping others. That is the way servant leader, where he should guide by example or lead by example. So Scrum Master is a person who manages the impediment logs. Impediment logs, in the sense, they capture what problems team is facing. Is there any hurdle? Is there any roadblock, which is due to which the team is not able to perform on their expected levels? So Scrum Master will make sure that all the processes in the team are followed correctly. Everyone has an understanding of Scrum processes and their know-hows, why something is important while it may not be important in a waterfall model. He ensures that there is an ideal working environment which helps the Scrum team to complete the sprint successfully, and also make sure that the impediments are removed. So he's probably a managerial kind of a guy who's from the management, and anybody who is a product owner or Scrum team member can go ahead and approach this guy in case of any problems, and he should find out solutions for the team. So that is the main role of the Scrum Master. He also will take care of overseeing the release planning sessions, and he will also try and convene other meetings as per his role. So what exactly he does, what exactly he will do, what exactly uh, things he'll follow or documentation he will maintain, we will learn about in our upcoming sessions. Now, talking about the Scrum team, and this is the most important core role, because this is the team who's getting the work done. So typically, it's a small team of 6 to 10 members, which are generalist and specialist. So generalist specialist is a term which has been keyed in Scrum and bears the maximum importance. So everybody is master of one and knows certain other things here and there, so that they can cover up for anybody else who's in need of a coverage. They are cross-functional and self-organizing, as we have already discussed, and they enjoy complete autonomy during a sprint. Now, this line is very, very important. So Scrum says, don't bind your team in something that they are not able to deliver. Give them complete freeness. Let them perform in an autonomous way. So that's why complete autonomy has been mentioned. Responsibility for the work lies with the Scrum team. So they are at the end of the day responsible for getting the work done and also reporting their progress during the daily stand-up meetings. So these are the three core roles which we have in Scrum, and they hold the most importance. There are certain non-core roles as well, which we will actually discuss as we go along in this webinar series. So talking about this methodology, and in the initial session we have actually covered what are the core roles, what are the principles, and what's the need of Scrum. I hope that all of you who have joined the session today have had an initial thought about what these methodologies are and how they are beneficial and useful. So we anticipate that we are going to have a great time together in the next upcoming sessions, and we want you to be stay tuned for the upcoming webinar series. Let's do it the Scrum way. You have our coordinates below on the slide where you can contact us in case you want more information, in case you want some free resources where you can understand about the concepts beforehand when we do such kind of sessions again. The sessions are hosted on our Facebook page, on our website, and we also do tweet about our sessions, and we also want you to invite your friends, your professional references, so that they can all benefit from the session. So thank you so much for everybody who has joined today, and I hope that you are going to enjoy Let's do it the Scrum Way webinars in future as well. So thank you so much for coming in.